It's Sunday afternoon. You're sitting in your chair, sipping hot tea on a cold winter day, playing your favorite strategy, when all of a sudden,
Ratty wins again! Ratty wins again!
Am I victorious? Oh yes, I am!
I win! I win! I win! No one beats the pig!
The Lord has been killed.
I win! You lose!
aren't you tired of getting wrecked by these animals or a random 40-year-old dude online? Well, if so, you came to a right place. Today, we learn how to survive Stronghold Definitive Edition. This is Construction UI. It covers everything from castle buildings to food processing buildings. To the far right of the screen, we can see reports. Reports have indicators for popularity, gold, and population, as well as minimap. We can zoom in, we can zoom out. And to the left side, bottom left side of the screen, we can see two icons. One indicates mission objective. The other one showcases the construction across the board. We have everything from wood to food production. If you want to rotate the camera, press Q or E. If you want to see behind a major obstacle like a keep, you can press space. And it's very useful when constructing walls or buildings. If you want to hide UI, you have to press Alt and Z, and press Alt and Z to get it back. Then, if you want to zoom in, you press X and Z to zoom out. You can also use your scroll up or down. You can also manipulate the speed of the game by pressing minus or plus keys on your keyboard. Normal speed is 40, the lowest speed is 10, the highest is 90. Stronghold society revolves around population, tax, and popularity mechanics. Peasants are the beating heart of your castle. They produce raw materials, food, weapons, and pay taxes. To increase population, you need to build hovels. One hovel provides home for 8 peasants. To maintain the population, you need your popularity to be above 50%. Taxes are paid every month. The bigger the population, the more gold you can get. You use gold to recruit soldiers, to build siege engines, construct some buildings, or buy whatever you need on the market. As you increase taxes, it negatively affects your popularity. If the popularity drops below 50, as a result, peasants will abandon you. That means that you can't recruit any soldiers.
Recruits needed, sire.
And production of all goods and necessities grinds to a halt.
I would stay inside and hide just now, sire.
Look, those idiots don't even know where we live.
No!
To offset the anger your peasants feel, you need to understand popularity mechanics. Popularity mechanics can be either positive or negative ones. Negative mechanics mostly consist of taxes. As you're increasing taxes, your popularity gets worse and worse, as well as low food rations or no food rations, which is the worst one, as well as lack of housing. For example, if one of your hovels get destroyed during an enemy assault, you can see that popularity drops immediately. So make sure to rebuild hovels to have harmony when it comes to housing and population. There is another thing, so-called bad things. Bad things consist of gallows, dungeons, burning stakes. They are basically torturing and killing devices with a goal to intimidate your population in order to work harder, with a side effect of negatively affecting your troops in combat.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
In order to increase popularity, you can always build some good things. Good things consist of playgrounds, of flowers, and they will positively affect your peasants. The only problem here is that they will occasionally come and visit while not actually working, so it will decrease your productivity overall. One of the good things is that your troops will be positively affected in combat. You can see small green circles. In order to additionally increase your popularity, you can increase extra food rations. The more food rations, the happier villagers. You can also have food diversity. For every extra type of food, you get +1 popularity. You can use inns that, make people happy by drinking. I think this is the most cost-effective way to increase your popularity. And one of not so cost-effective ways would be to build religious constructions like churches, chapels, and cathedrals. They cost a lot of resources and a lot of gold and are very difficult to justify. Additionally, if you're really in a bad position, you can have negative taxes. You can bribe your people to actually stay in the castle. The problem is that this cannot continue for a long time, only use in emergencies. In order to better see what is happening, you can always click on reports. You can check popularity right here, and you can see all sorts of popularity: food, tax, crowding, fear factor, religion, ill coverage, or events. We did not really talk much about events, but these are random things that happen in specific missions. They can be both good or bad. Good would be something like a wedding or a bard visiting your kingdom, or the bad ones would be crop failures or diseases that will lower or increase your popularity depending on the case. Everything starts with the economy. Economy consists of food, raw materials, and weapons production. Food production. There are 4 ways to produce food in this game. The first and the cheapest one would be Hunter's Post. It requires only 5 wood. It can be placed pretty much anywhere, requires very little space. And as the villager comes here, becomes a hunter. Hunters will look for deer across the map. And the problem with this system is that sometimes deer will be very close to the hunter post, and sometimes will be very, very far, therefore increasing or decreasing the productivity of this kind of food source. One of the benefits here would be that hunters can actually fire the enemies. If the enemies are trying to invade your land, hunters can sometimes act as archers. The next food source that I really, really love would be Apple Orchard. It's very cheap, 5 wood, only 1 peasant necessary to operate, but they have to be placed on a valley floor. They require a lot of space, and they are not really suitable for a large population. The next one would be Dairy Farm. Dairy Farm have pretty much the same size as Apple Orchard. They cost 10 wood, and they are not as efficient as the Apple Orchard, but they provide additional benefits. For example, if there is no valley floor, you can place them on top of a hill. Although the surface has to be flat and you cannot have trees there. Another benefit is that if you need leather armor to get some macemen or crossbowmen, this is a must. The most expensive food source by far would be Wheat Farm. It costs 15 wood each, requires 1 peasant to operate, but this is not where it ends. In order to produce bread, you need mill that costs 20 wood and 3 peasants, as well as bakery that costs 10 wood and 1 peasant. Also, we have another source, not of food, but of ale. It's Hops Farm. You produce hops, they cost 15 wood, and they have to be transferred the same as wheat to the stockpile. And then you have to create breweries that cost 10 wood, and 1 person to operate, and then inn that costs 50 wood and 25 gold, and 1 person to operate. It's very important to keep your wheat and hops production very close to the stockpile raw materials production. In this game, there are 3 types of raw materials. The first one is wood. Wood is the only dynamic raw material, meaning that it can actually spread if you don't cut it, or it can disappear if you cut it too much. The other raw material on my list would be stone. Stone would never change. It will always stay as it is. The same is with iron. Wood is used to construct buildings and palisades, as well as weapons manufacturing. Build as many woodcutters' huts as possible at the start of the game in order to kickstart your economy. Woodcutter hut costs 3 wood, and every time woodcutter returns to the stockpile, you get 12 wood. In case you don't have any woodcutters or any wood in the stockpile, as we can see in this example, we're gonna sell everything. You get rewarded with free woodcutter. It costs nothing. Woodcutters are also good in melee, so keep that in mind. Stone is required to build walls and towers, and some buildings like barracks and churches. In order to get stone, you need a quarry. Quarry costs 20 wood and requires 3 peasants to operate. And in order to carry stone to the stockpile, you need ox tether. It costs 10 wood and 1 person to operate. The further away your stone production is from the stockpile, you might need more ox tethers. Iron is the most expensive raw material in the game. It's used for high-tier weapons like armor, swords, and maces. In order to get iron, you need iron mine. Iron mine costs 20 wood and requires 2 people to operate. To recruit soldiers, you need weapons. Different type of soldiers require 1 or more different types of weapon systems. For example, crossbowmen requires crossbows and leather armor. Crossbows can be manufactured by Fletcher's workshop. You have to select the type of weapon, like crossbow, and then Fletcher will actually go to a stockpile, get some wood, and then produce crossbow. After making it, he will have to take it to armory. On the other hand, leather armor is being produced by Tanner's workshop. Tanner will go to dairy farm, get a cow, and slaughter it, use the leather to manufacture the armor, then go back to the armory to put it back. This means in order to optimize the production, you need to keep Fletcher's workshop very close to the stockpile and Tanner's workshop very close to dairy farm. And both of these should be close to armory. If you want to be good at this game, you kind of have to learn to use the marketplace correctly. First thing to do would be to maybe check the prices of goods. If we take wood, for example, it says 1 to 4. What does this mean? Well, if we click here, we can see that we can trade 5 wood for 5 gold. But if you want to buy it, we will have to pay 20 gold for the same amount. Something that's very useful, especially in a multiplayer game, would be auto trade. Auto trade would be ability to auto buy or auto sell something depending on how much you have and how much you need. Did you know that you can actually move Stockpile to a new place even after it's built? Well, in order to do so, we have to click on delete button and then manually delete every single part of the stockpile. Now, you can move it wherever you like. The problem with this is that you will lose all the resources you have in your stockpile. To prevent this, you have to either use them or sell them before demolishing the stockpile. And you can say, oh, when should I do it? Well, if you start the game and in your mission, stockpile is very, very far away from some of your key resources, you can pull this off. The same can be said for the Granary. Granary cannot be moved right now. If we check, we can only place it next to the old Granary. But If we use delete button, we delete it and we can place it here, for example. It will work. The only problem now is that there is no food. So make sure before you demolish the granary to sell all the food, and now you can buy a little bit just to make sure that your popularity does not suffer too much. You can use it for the same reasons. Sometimes your granary is way far away from your food production. To wrap up economics section, we need to understand Pesant AI. If you think that peasants occupy buildings based on your build order, you're wrong. But hey, let's put that to a test. To do this test fairly, we have to be very quick. First, we will go with weapons production building. Then we will do some raw material production and only then food. So let's see what the peasants choose to do first. We have to be very quick in order to pull this off in a proper way. Have to wait a couple of seconds. Build it here. We're gonna build iron mine. Here, then quarry. Woodcutter and apple orchard. Let's see what happens with the first peasant. Interesting. It's the apple orchard guy. The second one would be the woodcutter. The third one is the guy that works in quarry, and we're gonna have 3 of them. Next ones are miners. Interesting. And the final one would be Fletcher. Now, why do we observe this behavior? Well, it's because AI gives preferences when it comes to production. So, food comes first. Second are raw materials. Priority in raw materials are wood, stone, and iron, and only then comes weapons production.
What are you doing here?
I thought the core would help me straighten out my life, sir!
The core? What the... This isn't the... Oh. Well, beggars can't be choosers.
There are 2 different types of units in this game: combat and support. Combat troops can be subdivided into ranged and melee troops. Ranged troops consist of archers and crossbowmen. Well, archers are very cheap. They're great on defense. They can kill a lot of softer targets. They struggle against well-armored units. This is where we get crossbowmen. They can kill armored targets, but they cost more money and also require crossbows and leather armor, which is making them more difficult to get. If we talk about melee troops, spearmen are the cheapest one. And not only that, but they're the worst unit in the game. They cannot take any archer fire. They die quickly to pretty much any other melee troop in the game. The only time they can be useful would be on defensive end. If you're defending your castle against leathermen, they are excellent pushing them back. Great unit in this game would be macemen. They are mid-tier unit if you look at their price. The only problem with them would be their maces require iron to manufacture. But they also have leather armor, so they do a lot of damage. They can take a couple of shots. They're super fast for infantry unit. They're really good at covering up the moat. They can quickly kill enemy archers or crossbows on their wall, and they can snipe enemy lord if you can get there. On the other hand, pikemen are the tankiest units in the game. They can survive the most arrow fire. They can live the longest in the midst of burning oil or burning pitch. They're not great in melee, and they're rather slow. They have no bonus against cavalry, as you might think. And they're excellent at destroying down enemy fortifications like walls and towers. The best melee troop in the game would be swordsmen. They require swords and metal armor. They're very expensive, but they can kill anything in their path. Their biggest, by far, weakness would be how slow they are. They're the slowest unit in the game. And quite opposite from this would be knights. Knights are the fastest in the game. They are, though, very, very expensive. They require swords and armor, but also horses. In order to get horses, you need stables. Stable costs about 400 gold. They are very unique type of unit, very capable in melee. They are great at killing enemy archers on the ground or crossbowmen. They're great at hunting enemy siege work, like mangonels or trebuchets. They can be used to harass the enemy economy, especially in multiplayer. When recruiting troops, we can always set assembly point. For example, I would like my archers to climb to the keep to protect the lord, and maybe macemen would be more aggressive, like this. So if I click here, or I click there, we can see that our troops are moving straight to their assembly point. Well, if we have a lot of troops to get and we don't really want to click hundreds of times, we can just press shift and get 5 troops of the same type. Or we can press control to get as many troops as available. In case you have weapons and gold but urgently need more manpower, you can always close certain industries to bolster the army. But be careful, this will have long-term consequences on your economy. There are 3 unit stances in this game. Stand ground is a default stand in which your units will not try to engage the enemy. Defensive stance is when your units will try to defend imaginary perimeter around them, while the aggressive stance will make them actively seek to destroy enemy across the map. These stances practically affect only melee troops, while range units are not really affected. You have the option to disband your troops, and then they will become peasants once again. You can also set them on a patrol. For example, here, they're going to go from point 1 to point 2, and then, try to come back to point 1. You can stop their behavior clicking this one, or you can attack a specific ground position with your range units. In order to control larger troops, you can use control groups. For example, we have Macemen here. I'm going to press Control 1. Knight's going to be Control 2, and Archers will be Control 3. So if I click 1, I get Macemen. I click 2, I get Knights, and I click 3, I order Archers. There are 3 different support units in the game. Tunnelers, for example, are offensive unit only. You can use them to undermine enemy fortifications, walls, and towers. They're excellent at this job. The only problem is they are very soft. They can easily die to archer fire, so try to protect them any way you can, and they will do you wonders. Leathermen are the next offensive type of unit. They are very fast. They will charge straight to the enemy fortifications. They will put ladders on their walls, and your troops will be able to climb. The only problem again is that they are very, very soft. They easily die to archer fire, and they can be countered by spearmen. The most effective support units in this game are engineers. Engineers can be both defensive and offensive. On the defensive end, they can carry burning oil, which is amazing against all types of troops. They can man ballista with crazy range, and mangonel that can kill droves and droves of enemy troops. Offensively, though, they can build siege engines like catapults, trebuchets, siege towers, and battering rams. They also cost a lot of gold, so keep that in mind. They can get portable shields to protect your troops for enemy archer fire. It's great on both offense and defense. It's important to understand melee mechanics of this game, and to start off, we're going to have a small experiment. We're going to charge our knight into a swordsman. Let's see who wins the melee. The knight is gone. Swordsman is standing with 1/3 to 1/4 of his health. Well, now is the time for a bigger experiment. We have 100 knights on one side, and we have 100 swords on the other. Well, guys, what do you think? Who wins? Let's find out.
My liege?
we're gonna first charge
We await your
swordsmen, and then we're gonna charge the
orders.
knights. Interesting. Let's see the numbers.
Our blades are
85. 85 knights remaining out of 100. How could this be? Well, even though swords are the best melee unit in the game, they managed to lose convincingly against inferior knights. The reason for this result is lack of unit collision. You can have hundreds of troops in one square simultaneously attacking a single enemy on the other side. This mechanic benefits groups of faster melee troops, like knights. In order to understand archery in this game, we will do a couple of tests. Here we have 20 archers, and we have only 10 blue archers. Here again, 10 blue archers, but on top of a hill. And here we have again 20 red archers on low ground. So let's start. Red archers will have the honor of attacking. Let's see what happens.
War is yours.
17. How about here?
Instructions.
Okay, these guys are already lower. 9, 6, 4. And they lost. Well, that means that elevation means so much in this game. Archers in an elevated position dominate the battlefield. Now, let's see some of the fortifications. Here, the situation is a little bit different. We still have 10 blue archers everywhere,
Instructions.
but we have 40 red archers. So let's see how this
We are on
goes.
our way. Archers, ready. My boy is yours. Me lord, leaving now.
Here we can see that, yep, red archers are dominating enemy archers on the walls. These guys are kind of holding a bit longer, I could say.
We await orders.
27 guys. How about here? 22. Losses are greater. How about here? Oh, these guys are holding.
Archers, ready.
And they're gonna win this one. Archers of the round tower actually defeated all 40 enemies. So guys, you can see that elevation and a different type of towers can actually help you win a lot of skirmishes. So the bigger the tower, the more HP it has. The bigger the tower, your troops are better protected, so they can fight off more enemies at a time. The goal is to protect your lord at all costs. If he dies, you lose. This is how a solid castle should look like. We should prioritize building less towers, but stronger and bigger ones. The entire castle is surrounded by a moat, additionally protected by spike traps and pitch. If the enemy comes close to the gate, it will just shut down automatically, preventing your peasants from bringing resources to the keep. In order to allow your economy to breathe, you need to have multiple gates. Ballistas are good against enemy siege engines, in particular trebuchets and catapults, while mangonels are good versus large groups of enemies. Make sure to put mangonels directly facing the enemy, otherwise you can take some heavy losses due to friendly fire. Make sure to always keep your range units on towers rather than walls. Remember the previous section about range units. Pitch is the most powerful weapon in the game. It can annihilate large hordes of enemies. In fear of pitch, enemies usually attack in waves. To light the pitch, you need an archer next to a brazier. Try to keep those archers away from the main fight, so they don't actually get killed in the process. Use hotkeys to quickly find them.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
If you feel like your lord is about to die, you can always burn your own castle down, killing the enemies in the process. Buildings that require stone have higher HP, therefore burn for a longer period of time. Internal fire will destroy all the buildings and kill all the peasants and soldiers on the ground. Every building in this game can be burnt down with the exception of keep, towers, and walls. To stop fires, use wells. Sometimes it's better not to have walls. If the road to your lord is wide open, the AI will often ignore your economy and just beeline towards the lord. Don't be afraid to demolish your old fortifications and build new ones closer to the enemy. Ideally, you should build major towers close to the enemy spawn. By demolishing old fortifications, you get a portion of your raw materials back, either wood or stone, as long as there is room in the stockpile. You can build stairs over cliffs to make your economy more efficient.